challenging game tomorrow. Arkansas State is, they have obviously beat Georgetown at Georgetown, and they were up handily. Georgetown came back. They played TCU very, very tough for about 35 minutes. They did the same last night at Alabama. So it's another one of those kind of mid-major, sneaky, difficult games for us. They play very hard. The coach does a very good job. Got a lot of interchangeable parts. So it's going to be a challenge for us. There's a lot of elements that go into a game like this that make it difficult. You guys have got to be engaged. They can't be thinking about Christmas. For us, nobody's really going to be able to go home. Now, local guys will be able to, but we're still going to have to practice Christmas Eve and Christmas. So it's a little bit easier in the sense that they don't have to get on planes. But this is always a very, very difficult game to prepare for. We got to be emotionally ready, not looking ahead to the Big Ten. We've just got to focus on getting better and trying to beat a very good Arkansas State team.
This group is pretty good, though, at keeping that focus, right? I mean, is there much concern that they are drifting ahead to Tuesday?
So far, so good with that, but there's always a concern with that. You look at, there's always some funky scores throughout the league, throughout the country. Nebraska had it, Michigan State. Now they've had some injuries. You got to get them to understand that this opponent is in front of us. They can beat us. They're a very good team. They were top 30 in the RPI before yesterday. I don't know where they're at today. But these guys have been pretty good about that. All right, thanks, Seth.
Update on Amir.
He's good to go. Practiced yesterday. Feels good, looks good. Said he's 100%, so he's good.
You talked about that injury, obviously being lingering. So it's one where he played through last year, different foot, but he's a tough kid. I mean, sometimes he just, he'll play through those things, and just like Reggie, obviously.
I think the biggest thing is to get him to communicate. Because when you're young, they don't understand. Like, I'm not a big believer in fight through it. Like, no, I want you healthy. I want you 100%. So if you are dinged up at all, just communicate with us. As long as we're all on the same page, hey, you need some time off, we'll give you time off. We've got a good group with that. Guys aren't eager to get out of practice or anything like that. So Amir has been very mature about it, and he's been good. So just communicate with us, and we'll be good.
Dupree had his best game with Amir out of the lineup. With Amir returning, do you anticipate his role changing at all?
No, I don't. The whole role thing, I don't know what any of that means. I mean, if you get the ball, do something good with it. When you're on defense, play defense. So I don't necessarily think roles change. I think all five guys' roles on the court are to be a threat offensively. So I don't, no, I don't think so. I mean, we need him to score. Dupree's got the natural ability to score. A lot of those guys do. Nate, Amir, we talked to the bigs a lot about, we need to get production out of you from a low post offense standpoint. So we want five guys. We've got pretty good balanced scoring, and everybody's got to be ready to make a play.
On Dupree, how much better is he now, say, compared to maybe like last December?
Much better, much more confident. I think when we recruited him, we always thought, I was probably the only one last year who kept saying, I think Dupree's going to be a really good player, and everybody's like looking at me funny. Now he hasn't arrived, but he had kind of a young body frame, the whole deal, and I just thought once he got confident, he'd be able to do it. He was thrown in the fire last year, where this year he's extremely confident in a good way, and he's got game. You could tell he's grown up playing, and he's got some abilities, with long arms, with length to go by people and then kind of change midair. He's a very good passer as well. So I think he's our most improved player by far.
You mentioned his size. He put some weight on. How important was that to increase that field goal percentage and finish?
It's got to continue to get better. He's put on a lot of weight. He's probably put on about 20, 25 pounds since he's been here. Now, next year is a huge year from an off-season standpoint. But I think it gives him confidence to physically be able to bang. And then obviously once the Big Ten starts, it changes even more from a physicality standpoint. It'll be, every game is so physical. So it'll be interesting to see how he does there. But, putting on weight's giving him confidence. Putting hours in the gym is giving him confidence as well.
Do you treat a final non-conference game any different than, say, a first non-conference game of the season? You know?
No, not really. I mean, it's an opportunity to get better. It's an opportunity to get a win, which is extremely important. But other than that, no. I mean, it's can't take them lightly. You take Arkansas State lightly, you'll lose. So it's we've prepared very hard for this game, and we'll turn the page to Michigan State when the game's over. We haven't even really looked at that.
Did you watch Louisville, Kentucky last night?
Oh, a question from you.
Yeah, how about that?
What was the question?
Did you watch Louisville, Kentucky last
I did not. No. Who won?
night? I haven't heard.
Yeah, I watched. I did. It was a very entertaining game. Those games they're normally like slugfests. This game was fun to watch. I mean, obviously Kentucky is extremely talented. The kid Monk is terrific. De'Aaron Fox is ridiculous. The kid Bam, those dunks were amazing. So Louisville did what they had to do. They got to win those home games, and I put together a little edit today for our guys to watch. I thought it was a really good rebounding clinic by both teams. I just thought they were unbelievable at it. Now they're both big, strong, physical, but there's a lot to learn from that game. It just felt like a league game, and obviously it's a big rivalry game. So it was a fun game to watch, and obviously excited Louisville won.
How often do you do that, where you say, I saw some stuff last night, different game, completely unrelated to us or our opponent, but I want to show you guys some
A
stuff?
lot,
Really?
yeah, a lot. There's always teaching moments, and the good thing is, like, our players probably watched that game because it was a primetime game, it was a big game, but they may not necessarily have been paying attention to the teaching part of it. So yeah, we'll take a lot of it, and when you watch that game, you're sitting there going, okay, that's a big time game. Well, those two top 10 teams, well, we're in the Big Ten, so we're gonna have to compete against teams like that. So if we want to be where we want to be, we're gonna have to beat teams like that, playing that physical, defending like that, getting out on the break like that. So it's a lot of learning things from that.
What's that rivalry like? You've kind of been on both sides of it throughout your life.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Their ESPN kept asking, "What's the biggest rivalries?" I mean, obviously, Carolina's huge. Kentucky, Louisville's big. I think what makes it different is Duke, Carolina could play 3 times in 1 year. Louisville, Kentucky cannot. Those fan bases love basketball. That state loves basketball, and there's just so much pride. And the fans, the players, they get the most out of it. And it was a fun game to watch on both ends. I thought it was very, very entertaining. And Kentucky's gotten the better of Louisville for a while, so it was good to see Louisville get that win. It was fun.
You mentioned the Christmas Eve, Christmas Day practice. What are those typically like? I mean, do you guys do anything special, or is it just a normal day for you?
They're challenging. I don't like doing it. I would prefer to give them some time off, but the Big Ten sets a schedule, so there's nothing we can really do about it. Fortunately, we got a couple local guys. I think we got 5 or whatever it is, so they'll be able to go home. It's you want to give them time off, but you got to prepare. So you got to make them feel as good as possible. Make sure everybody's got places to go. So we're kind of putting all that stuff together today, trying to logistically figure out what times, good times to practice. For me, my in-laws are in town, so I could stay here all day. It doesn't matter.
Richard,
Just kidding.
with the football situation, are there teachable moments? I mean, does that come up in team meetings here? Are you able to tell your guys, hey, this, and this, and are you following it? Are you guys following that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a big story, and there's always teachable moments in every, when you have so many sports teams, everything that goes on here, there's so many teachable moments. I haven't really gotten into all the details of it. I haven't really paid attention to that, but just getting everybody to understand every action that you do affects all of us. And obviously we learned that last year the hard way. And, I'm sure football is learning that as well. So the biggest thing, whenever you go through any of that stuff, is just you got to stick together, and you got to understand, that your actions away from everything, whatever you may do, it's going to affect everybody. So, yeah, we all learn from it. We learned from it the hard way last year. And it's a challenge, and you got to continue to educate your guys as much as possible.
Anything else for Coach?